Thank you so much for attending my episode of MMR Scam. This time, we're going to be learning about Enchantress. First off, I want to say that by making this video, I'm actually dealing psychic damage to everyone who plays Dota, because by doing so, I am ever so slightly increasing the chances of you having to play against a mid-ench this patch. And preemptively, let me just say, sorry. While it doesn't have a particularly impressive win rate or pick rate on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, I can guarantee you right now that this will wind up being one of the sleeper picks of 7.40B, and there's a real chance it will wind up ruining an esports tournament in the near future. The current build, whenever you play her as a position 2, is to put all of your points in impetus and just spam it on the enemy laner as often as you can. Your other points will be going into nature's attendance in order to keep yourself healthy and make it so that you can win every single trade against every single hero. The general build idea is that you're going to be going Boots of Speed into an Orb of Corrosion on a range hero, which is where the weirdness starts, but definitely not where it ends. Once you have Orb, go ahead and keep your boots brown like God intended and pick up a Mage Slayer, which covers a bunch of her weaknesses. Because of your ultimate, Untouchable, you're basically impervious to the vast majority of forms of physical damage in Dota, at least ones that don't rhyme with Flak Flannin or Slomni Slash. Not only does it have a good chunk of magic resistance built into the item's passive stats, but the active, when applied to an enemy hero, will massively reduce the amount of spell damage that they're capable of putting out. These combine with nature's attendance and your ultimate to make you suddenly one of the tankiest heroes in the entire game. Now so far, it looks like you were trying to pick Ember Spirit, but your finger slipped and you typed in EN and selected your hero without looking. So let's go ahead and differentiate ourselves by picking up a Witchblade. Now nobody knows this, not even me, because I just had to tab out into Dota to double check, but Enchantress has 4.0 int gain, which is some of the highest in the entire game. Witchblade slows and deals damage over time relative to your int, and that slow stacks with Orb of Corrosion, making it extremely easy to run anyone down once you have impetus on a 0-second cooldown. Now with these two items alone, you can pretty much win every single man fight in the game, but you're not here to win 1v1s, you're here to win Dota, which is why you are going to bite the bullet and buy a defensive item in the form of Aghanim Shard. Now, referring to Spronk as a defensive ability is also a little bit silly, because while yes, it is a potent repositioning tool, it also chucks out multiple impetus attacks on whoever happens to be unlucky enough to stand in front of you. With these abilities, if you are able to link up with anyone with any form of control, or you just find someone walking by themselves in the jungle, you can kill them as Enchantress, and even more importantly, they can't kill you. Getting a single attack off with Mage Slayer turns pretty much any magic caster's damage output into nothing, and even if they are able to deal some damage to you, you can just heal it right back up with Nature's Attendance. And finally, to complete the cornucopia of mid-game items that will allow you to take barracks at 19 minutes, we have Dragon Lance. The reason why is pretty self-explanatory. Impetus deals additional damage depending on how far away the target is from you, so this lets you hit them harder. Also, the stats are nice or whatever. Now with all of these items combined, you can effectively turn the game on creative mode in Minecraft and just sort of walk around killing people without them able to interact. And if the enemy team really is somehow able to kill you through all of that, don't worry, you have plenty of time to buy a BKB and continue fighting, because pure damage does not fall off. Now with this very simple game plan laid out in front of you, you're probably feeling tricked in some way. What about Enchant? What about Micro? What about all those cool plays that the pro players do with Enchantress? Keep that question in the back of your very small mind, because we'll be getting to it shortly. And before we do, I have a Patreon. Link is in the description, it has a couple of bonus videos, and if you'd like, you can dox yourself so I can write you a letter and keep myself safe from the gambling companies. Thank you very much for your continued support. So now that you know which items to buy and that you should spam impetus on the enemy mid laner, you're probably wondering how to actually win the game after winning your lane, and that is what I am here to tell you all about. In the same way that Phylactery Spectre is so amazing, because all you really had to do was slap a Phylactery on Spectre's existing default build, Enchantress doesn't really have to make that many playstyle changes when transitioning into a Pause 2. The same traits that help you stomp pretty much every mid-lane matchup will also help you stomp pretty much every mid-game. And as for getting your just desserts when the late game rolls around and people are able to pick up Condas and Silver Edges, don't worry, if you're playing this right, there won't be a late game. This absolutely is a death ball style of position 2. You want to absolutely dumpster your lane and make it so the enemy Pause 2 will have to jungle for the next 15 minutes while their supports yell at them. While that's happening, you can curve through the rest of the map as an early game raid boss, taking out tier 1s and tier 2s with abandon, and eventually sieging with your insane attack range. That range, by the way, is massively buffed by your facet Spellbound, which seems relatively innocuous at first glance, and I wouldn't be surprised if even other core Ench players aren't picking it. To save you from having to open up Dota 2 and hold the Alt button, I'll just let you know right now that with the Dragonlance and Spellbound at level 4 on an enchanted target, you have 980 attack range. And that is the true genius of this build, because whenever you're playing as mid-ench, you're thinking to yourself, aw geez, if only there was some kind of micro shenanigans that I could do. It's a shame I'm not smarter. Micro is for nerds, and you're going to make the enemy pause 2 very aware of this when you hit level 4, put a point in enchant, and use it to dunk their head in a toilet. This build literally has a built-in excuse to be a moron. What else could a Dota 2 player even ask for? I wrote a little bit about how hard it must be to balance Enchantress. Feel free to read it if you like. So now that you know how to win a match with your eyes closed, you're probably wondering why I'm suggesting that you play this now. If you look at the patch notes for 7.40 or 0.40b, you'll notice that Enchantress didn't really get any buffs at all. In fact, she was arguably nerfed. But none of those nerfs actually impacted any of the things that you're going to be doing as a position 2 Enchantress, especially if you're not going to be going an Aghanim Scepter. Instead, the reason that I'm recommending it now is because of what those patches did to the rest of the mid lane pool. Right now, the most successful mid laners, according to Dota 2 Pro Tracker, are Queen of Pain, Ember Spirit, and Rubik. All three of those heroes get shit on by Ench. Queen of Pain simply cannot handle the amount of harassment that an Enchantress can dish out, and even if she does her full combo on you, you can actually cast Nature's Attendance during the push animation of her ulti, and that's very funny. Ember Spirit is infamous for losing to every form of cheese, and Enchantress is about as cheesy as you can get without having to micro anything. Rubik, Void Spirit, and Shadow Fiend just have to sit there and take it, and Invoker may have the best chance because he's able to burn your mana, but even that just isn't enough, because even after EMP, you probably still have a little bit left in the tank thanks to that 4.0 int gain. Just as a thought experiment, try thinking of a single position 2 hero that can sit in the mid lane against an Enchantress and not ever have to go back to base or fly out a salve. The only answer that I can think of is Puck, and even then, that only is true until Impetus gets a 0-second cooldown at level 7. Her matchup spread is already insane, and the fact that pretty much all of the most popular mid laners right now completely lose to her only makes it better. The fact that she didn't have any nice compliments written under her character portrait in 7.40 also means that people aren't analyzing her, they aren't experimenting with her, and they aren't realizing how broken she is. So the next time you queue up to farm roll queue tokens in Immortal ranked matchmaking and get mid 3 games in a row, go ahead and give her a try. Even if you only get 2 tokens instead of 4, you can find solace in the fact that the actual mid player on the enemy team is foaming at the mouth. In conclusion, mid-ench is oppressive, and you should absolutely play her. A few years ago, I went on an 18-hour straight road trip with a friend, and halfway through we went insane and started giggling whenever bugs hit the windshield. The only way to invoke that same giggle from me today is to hit the enemy mid laner with an impetus. Peace on planet Earth.